Welcome. Again, my name is Andrew Rickard. I'm the president and treasurer of the Jewelers Board of Trade, have been so since June of last year. I'm joined today by Erica D'Ambrosio, who has been in the role as she is our director of marketing and has been with JBT for 20 years. So we're happy to have Erica. And Erica, today we're talking about, we just made a little joke here together. Had enough time in between webinars to grab a quick cup of coffee. We had one already for our retail partners this morning, right? I think that went well. Do you agree?
Agree,
Yeah.
100%.
So we what we wanted to do for is have two distinct ones. It's early, we know, to talk about JCK, but it's we know the process that it takes to get ready. Some of you may know me, some may not. I was the executive vice president of a domestic wholesale diamond company for 21 years. I went to JCK a lot of times. I know how much work it was. I also know, Erica, how much money we spent. And I know when I first told you that, you were shocked at, what it could cost. But it's well into the six figures for a lot of our supplier partners. They're sending large staffs. They have, between hotels and meals in the booth itself, JCK. And it's a lot of pressure. And it is much as you want to ramp up. It's really not a lot of time when you're there, right? It's 4 days. And for a number of our partners, it's 3, right? Because they observe the Sabbath. So we want to try today to do a couple things, give you some tips and techniques to best prepare to make JCK great, right? And there are things and steps that you can take to do that. And just kind of share a little bit about what we're seeing, right, in the market and ways that they can prepare themselves. So let's get it rocking and rolling here. I want to talk about the first couple months of the year, Erica, because we're seeing some numbers that are, let's be honest, a little alarming. Claims are up pretty substantially year over year, both in quantity and amount. So we have an 82% increase in the number of claims in January and February over 2025. That's alarmingly high, right? Almost, that's crazy. And we're also seeing a 21% increase in the amount. So two pretty alarming numbers, right? That's the world we're in, right, Erica? But what are your thoughts on that right out of the gate?
I think it's important to understand the climate that we're in the industry. It's a different climate, and we're always going to go through waves. I've seen it. I've been here in the industry 20 years now, on a different level than most, but I can tell you I've seen some waves, and we do have to ride it out, but we're here to help you ride out the wave that we're in right now.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, we can help, right? And I think a statistic that I share frequently, and I'll share again, is because we continually look at this. 7 out of 10 of the submitted claims that we see, the supplier, which is you folks, did not run a retail credit report on the person you shipped or sold to. And that, guys, that's alarmingly bad. We've got to do better organizationally to educate you on the importance of running a report. And we looked recently, Erica, and about between 65 and 70% of those were preventable, meaning there would have been an item somewhere on the report, an existing claim, slow payments, things that would have slowed down the supplier from making that shipment. And guys, listen, that's what we want to do at JBT. We want to protect your financial and credit transactions. We want to make sure that you're not shipping to situations that you're not going to get paid or have to send it to collections. Yeah, we provide that service, but man, it's a tough business, right, Erica? That is not ideal for any of us. Run a report, right?
Pretty simple.
Yeah. Pretty simple. Run a report. All right, let's talk specifically about JCK. At JCK, we get a rash of retailers who come to us first morning or second morning a lot, right, Erica, where they visited folks upstairs or on the floor, suppliers like you guys, and you will inevitably ask them about their JBT, which we appreciate. You should be doing that.
Right.
And they don't know their number. They don't know their score. They don't know anything. And now they want us to help them. What are some things that we can tell our suppliers to do to preemptively help prior to JCK with some retail partners?
Well, I think there's a big gap in understanding that there is a free listing for anybody in the industry. Anybody can have that free listing, but it's totally different to have a membership where you're vetted and approved. And we actually have different tiers of membership. Specifically, there is a membership for retailers. And so if you're just asking for the JBT number, it means they're in the system, but it doesn't necessarily mean they've been vetted and approved by JBT with that badge of approval. And so instead of just asking, do you have a JBT number? Ask instead if they're a retail member. And that'll let you know that we have done the checks and the bounds to make sure that there are no red flags, not just with the company, but also the owners and officers within that company, which is just equally as important.
Huge, huge, right? And we were talking about, guys, for our retail partners, it's a nominal $249 annual fee. I think it's very reasonable, but as a supplier, for you to push for members, it just means we've taken them through a bigger and broader and better vetting process, right? I mean, it's just more robust. So you're helping yourself by directing your retail partners to become a member. It's a win-win for all of us. Membership means that they've likely provided us more information. We're able to in turn provide you suppliers more information, and that's what you all want. Listen, I get the questions all the time, right? I want to make faster, easier credit decisions. That means more retailers scored, which is again help us by providing trades. And on the other side, directing retailers to become members is a further thing that we can do to help that, right?
Right. And we did walk the show last year. We spoke with a bunch of you. We're listening. You all said, there's an influx of online retailers coming into the market. Okay, who are these people? They're in their homes. We want to do business with them, but who are they? So that's the work we're doing, and we're trying to push these folks when they're trying to get that number because you're pushing them to us. Yeah, get the number, get the number. They're just filling out paperwork. That's all that really is. When they take that next step to that retail membership, we will vet them for you.
Huge, right? Background check, right? We're running Secretary of State searches, right? We're running UCC searches. We're doing a lot more work to really understand who it is that you're dealing with, right?
100%.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about, I'm at the show, and again, I was a supplier, right? And I'm sitting with somebody. I don't know who I'm sitting with. What are some steps that I can take, or my team collectively we could take while we're sitting maybe with somebody? We'd certainly love to sell them. They seem receptive to what we're trying to sell, but we don't know who we're dealing with. What are some things that we can do to mitigate our risk in that moment?
Well, you might notice some of your partners are looking at their phone sometimes. What they're doing, or you should be doing, in my opinion, is looking at the mobile app. And we have different personas for different people within your company. So there's like a credit manager persona, a salesperson persona, but it's very quick access to a credit score. So if you have somebody at your booth and they do provide you with their JBT number, even their company name at this point, we have like a fuzzy search, if you will. And so if they're even giving you just their trade name and it's not their corporate name, you can pinpoint them in the system and very quickly just see what the credit score is. I do think that this is a tool you should have with you, or arm at least some of your salespeople within your booth to have available, even if it's a shared iPad, if you want to do that at the show. Just allow people to quickly access the information while trying to make the sale. We don't want you to ever, take too long in the process, and this is just a quick way.
Huge, right? And it essentially what we say internally is it's the red book in your pocket, right? But I think better than the red book, right, Erica? Because the red book printed once a year, by the time you get it, after it's printed, it's already old, right? It's 45 days old by the time you actually receive it. The mobile app, real time, so you're able to see what's in the red book, but you get that score, right? And you can see real time what someone's score is.
Right.
Huge, huge.
Another thing that we just talked to the retail audience about is when they are in fact a retailer, they have their own portal that they can sign into. And we educated them to take screenshots of their profile, if you will, before walking into the show. So they're armed with that information and can provide it to you when you're discussing stuff with them at the booth.
Huge, right? Insist on knowing. Again, I know how hard it is. You're sitting with somebody, you want to maximize what you sell them and not leave money on the table, but you also don't want to oversell them and they can't pay, right?
Mhm.
So, knowing what someone's credit situation is just absolutely gigantic. And we need to make sure that you're able to move quickly. I think the mobile app is just such a game changer, Erica, to be able to pivot and move on a dime, right? Just so quickly in the moment. It really is a tool designed to be used at shows, right?
Right. I don't want you all to become a statistic of what we just discussed in the beginning
Yeah.
of those collection percentages because
Yeah, it's
that's
great. We were on a quick follow-up call this morning as a team, and Andy Remillard, who's now in our director of collections, talked about how often, right, he's seen in current claims being submitted, Centurion show, JCK show, JCK show, IJO show, RJO. Like he's seen these claims submitted from shows and just said, listen, people make fast decisions because they have no choice. Let's do the best we can as an organization to make sure they have the
yes.
most information at their disposal to try to help, right?
Agree.
Yep. We also, I think, another tip, technique, preparation is think a lot about you set appointments, right, as suppliers. Do pre-work with those appointments. Run a periodic JBT report on the store. Erica, so often as we talk to suppliers, they go, well, I run it when I start with somebody, but I don't run it after that.
Right.
And I think you and I talk a lot about this. Things change with clients. Run a periodic report. I'm not telling you to run it every month. That's insanity. But I think a half point in a year is very reasonable, especially to a client you're doing sizable business with. Are they starting to get slow with others? Can you see red flags? Is there any claims? Is there a periodic check is a smart way to stay engaged with existing clients. And again, I know there's nothing sexy about a JBT report, guys, but it's a great insurance policy to make sure that you're protected.
Just do it as your meeting prep and keep in mind too, if you ever pull a report and you just need assistance with that report, we're here to help as well. Don't understand it. I know you don't want to take too much time out of your day trying to figure stuff out, but you have a credit analyst assigned to you. They can help you understand what you're pulling, what you're ordering, and what you're looking at. We're here to help you.
Great point. Great point. Reach out. That's what we're here to do, right?
Yep.
And I think, philosophically, for me coming into the organization, that's one of the things that I want to represent. We need to be balanced to the entire industry, but we're here as resources for you. I was a firm believer. I got involved because I used this product for my 20 plus years in my other role. I never didn't open doors, but running a JBT and periodically checking. Certainly there's times where we lost, but financially, but they were few and far between, Erica, because we had a consistent process. We stuck to it, and we we did the right thing, right? We followed best practice. Also, that kind of segues me to terms, right? So we know that you're selling at JCK, but sometimes you're also memoing, or you're selling and memoing, and we want you to always give pause to terms. We understand how prominently they're used in the business, but just take caution. And that's where, again, a report doesn't just give you current activity as far as payment, Erica, but it gives you some old. Tell me a little bit about, and tell our audience what I mean by that as far as older payments.
Well, we take in the current month as well as the previous 6 months with that same customer. So you're getting an average, not just a current snapshot, if you will, but an average of current data as well as historic payment data to make a decision.
Agreed. And so if you're extending terms 3 months out, 4 or 5, 6 months out, you want to see what that trend looked like, and you can see it on the report. Exercise that ability by looking, because again, it might be great today, but if 6, 7 months ago it got very slow, maybe they got very slow because they overextended themselves at other shows. We want to minimize that risk to you, and maybe you don't go a full 6 months. Maybe you only do right 30 or 60 or 90 days, right? Shorten the terms.
Right. I do think it's important to say I've spoke with many of you, and there's not enough information on there. That says something. That's kind of red flaggish if there's not a lot of information on the report. So take that for what it is. They're not sharing information with us. So
I think that's a huge point. And we certainly, again, one of our responsibilities as an organization is to educate the importance, not just to suppliers, but to retailers. And we're doing that, right? We just had that webinar, and we do a lot of other educational sessions. But I agree. I think if they're not providing us information, why not? Right? Because all we're trying to do is put our best foot forward for them. So if they're withholding information from us, that should slow you at the very least, right? It should slow you down. Erica, I'd love you to tell a quick story. I know we got just a few minutes before we take some questions, but there was kind of I started last year, literally the beginning. I think within my first 5 days, I was at JCK, right? When I started with JBT last year. And on one of our last days, we had an interesting encounter with a gentleman. Tell that story, because I think it's very apropos to this audience, this supplier audience, of what can happen at JCK.
Right. So a gentleman came over. He was interested in membership, which was great. We ended up coming back to do the vetting and approval process, and we couldn't get in touch. Months had gone by. We were contacting daily, weekly at this point. Suddenly he came out of the blue in November. So we left JCK in June, November, he just randomly pops up and says he wants membership. Never mentions JCK, which he was getting a discount there. A little strange. We ended up doing the vetting and approval process on him, and we found that he was just imprisoned weeks before JCK started for fraudulent credit cards. He had given us a credit card that was a little fishy, as he was a man and it had a woman's name on it, which was one of my first red flags. But ultimately, we declined him as a member because of his criminal history. So those are sometimes the people roaming around and who you're dealing with. Not to say he wouldn't pay you, but that is a major red flag for us, and we just won't accept behavior like that.
Yeah, and I just to build on that, as I recall, it wasn't one case, right? It was
multiple.
It was several cases of fraud and felony charges that this guy was dealing with, and he was trying to become a member.
And listen, guys, one thing I can tell you, sorry, Andrew, is if you Google this person, if you Google the company name, even if you put it in AI, glaring reviews, perfect person to do business with.
Yeah.
And so, we obtain that data, and it's now in his report as a reference for you all. It's not going to be out there if you just look at his credit score, but that's why it's important to pull the report. You can see the trail of what's going on with this individual.
Such a great point, because people say to me, well, listen, I don't, I have a process. I do a Google review, or I check somebody out on AI. Again, this guy looked great. He came up roses, right? 5 stars. He was great. Listen, what I would tell you all, Google reviews are great if you're a consumer to determine who to buy from, but they are not, guys, for you to figure out who to sell to. It's not built for that. The JBT report is. That helps you figure out who to sell to. A Google review is great to figure out who to buy from, right? So always remember that. That should not be what you're substituting, right? As a means or method to do that. Listen, I want to take questions. Looks like we got one here. Please throw your questions in, hands up, throw them in the chat, and we'll get to them. Let's start with this one. So Alyssa asks, I need more training on the ratings to use the Red Book properly. Where can I access this information? Listen, there is a review within the Red Book, but what I would strongly encourage, Erica, is let's have someone, Alyssa, call in. We'll provide us your information. We'll call you. This is exactly the type of hand-holding we're very willing to do. We want to make sure that you get the proper information. We could take 10 minutes with one of our reporting concierges or one of our membership teams, right, to walk you through what they mean and help you. That's exactly what we're here for, guys. I don't expect you to know what those ratings were. Again, took me 20 years to figure out what they all were, Erica. There's a lot of them,
Yeah.
and sometimes confusing. Yes, give us that
I'd
info. Let us
suggest,
help you.
yeah, anybody on this call should kind of try to get the information on those ratings before you head to JCK. That's just
For
100%.
sure. For
Mhm.
sure. Yep. Other questions? Great one. Thank you, Alyssa. And yes, we will
Thank
absolutely
you.
help you. Other thoughts or questions? Again, I get this question often. Um, what's my process? What should I be doing from a best practice perspective, Erica? And what I would tell you is I think there's three key steps that you should be taking as a supplier when you're opening a new door with somebody. You should absolutely have documentation that a principal of that business is signing,
Yes.
that is has a guarantee on it, that clearly identifies your terms and policies. You're getting their JBT number, you're getting their FIN ID, you're getting that KYC information you need to be compliant. You're getting basic business principled information, address, who the owners are, et cetera, et cetera. Make sure the signature is of an owner. And how do you confirm that? Because you're going to, right after you get that app, you're going to run a JBT report, which is verifying the information that you received, right? That's step two, verify the information you received. If it's not an owner and it's a salesperson or a manager, I would strongly encourage your staff to get in the habit of always getting an owner signature, because when we look, Erica, ahead, if there is a problem down the road, right, and we have to do a claim of some kind, anyone's signature but the owner doesn't help us typically much, right? We need
Right.
that. And then step three, references. But again, with references, let's remember who's the reference, right? And we talk about this internally so much, Erica, right? So often we find out, well, it's his buddy, and he says, 10,000, he's great. And you just had a recent example. Tell your
Yeah.
story. This is a great one.
So I had to call a few references for a retailer, just a close retailer that I talked to, and he gave me a list of maybe 5 or 6 people. So I started calling these people to get credit references, and they're like, at first, oh, he's great, sell him. I could sell him 50,000 easily. I'm like, okay, great, but what's the amount you sold him in the past 7 months? Oh, and then it kind of got a little awkward, right? Like they hesitated and well, he's good for 50,000. Okay, but what have you sold to him in the past 7 months? $750.
Not exactly 50K.
No, no. And that continued. The next guy I called, it was 10,000. Well, what did you sell him? 1,000. So this is one of those important moments where you're thinking to yourself, yeah, I don't need JBT. I can just call a friend or the reference that they're giving you. They're giving you their friends, right? And their friends are always going to vouch for them, which is
Yeah.
great, but it's not the real picture.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, listen, I talk about this when I'm live in training sessions. One of the most intimate things that you rarely know about even your closest friends and families, how they pay their bills.
Right.
And I would say to you all, this industry there's a lot of trust in it. But what I would suggest to you all is never trust without verifying, and verifying is JBT. We're your verification. Use us to vet out what could potentially be a very costly mistake. Our claims now, as I said, are up 21%. It's over $10,000 per claim. I think it was like $10,700. Substantial. So not only are we seeing more, we're seeing a jump in the amount. Run these reports because it protects you and it protects your business from claims. And claims are expensive. And we've I know there's one right now that Andy's working on that's a $250,000 claim. I mean, some of these are giant, and we're going to do our best to mitigate these for our partners. But we're as good as what we're provided, and sometimes it's not everything we need, right? Unfortunately.
Right. One of the interesting questions we have is I use online forums for references. Not just taking into account the story I just said, but also I just spoke to somebody from an online forum, and he literally told me I will use the online forum for 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 max in references, credit references. I will not use the online forum for $20,000 to $50,000 worth of merchandise. And that's what we're here for, right?
Agreed.
And that
The larger
was actually a retailer I spoke with.
Yeah.
I need to make sure that I'm getting the right references on my credit report, because if it's something that substantial, the supplier should be looking at that.
Yeah, great point. Great point. I think you got to make sure that you're properly asking even the right questions on references, right? How long have you done business? Highest recent credit? Do they owe you any money currently? And how do they pay? I think you got to get all of those key pieces, not just, again, we got to get out of he's a good guy. That's
Yeah, I think if they start throwing out just big, large figures, that's when you start pressing on the questions there.
yeah,
'Cause-
good point. Good point. Any other questions here? Can you explain how we calculate the rating? Sure.
Sure.
Go ahead, Erica. Yep.
So we take a certain percentage of vendors that report in, and then we take averages on that. So it's the current month's information, anything they're paying currently, as well as the previous 6 months. And then it's a weighted average on that. So of course, the higher the dollar amount, the more weighted it's going to be towards that. If you have a bunch of $5 to $1,000 references out there, but then you have a $20,000 reference that's 30 days past due, it's going to greatly affect your credit score.
Absolutely. So again, we're constantly looking at that, evaluating. We actually just made internally a pretty sizable decision that's going to dramatically help, I think, our supplier partners, Erica, which is putting more emphasis and weight on the amounts, the dollar amounts versus just quantity. And within, I would say, another 30 days, our supplier partners are going to be very pleased when they see almost double the number of current retailers with a pay score. It's going to increase by 85%. And that's going to be a game changer because, again, our suppliers want help making decisions. We're moving fast to help them to make better decisions, more stores with a score.
So there's a question here where it says there are wholesalers and retailers for natural diamonds and gemstones or different products. In the JBT digital version, which I'm using on my laptop, there's no filter for the nature of the product. We can help you with that. So you're not signed up, it seems, into the JBT portal. It's a new portal for members. And what we do is method of operation searches. So you can filter it, say, for example, by lab grown diamond retailers in a certain zip code, and it would literally populate those retailers for you to look at, wholesalers, manufacturers. There's a lot of advanced features. So shoot me a message or give me a call and I can get you signed into that portal.
What's your number, Erica? You can provide that to Oxit and he can reach out as well as Alyssa.
Yeah, sure. It's 401-919-5631.
One more time.
401-919-5631.
Perfect. Any other questions about memo info? Okay, so this is a good one. I agree that we want to be better on some memo information and reporting. As a supplier, I understand the importance of that. In the current sharing of information, we receive payment information, not memo information. I am evaluating a number of opportunities with some partners to try to get an update and get more information regarding memo. I have a new and exciting partnership, Erica, that's going to really, I think, be a game changer as far as a service that we're going to provide. So I would say to you, stay tuned. And it's coming, Meyer. We're doing some things that I think are going to be exciting as it relates to memo. That could really be a game changer for our supplier partners, and that will be access to some memo information that again, I'm very close. I can't quite talk about it yet, but I'm teasing it here enough to tell you that I'm working on it, and we're excited by a number of new services that you're going to see coming from JBT. A number, not just that. There's going to be a number of things that we're working on. I can call you on it, Meyer, but I can't really share the details yet. But I absolutely, within the next 60 days, so pre-JCK, should have that locked in. And absolutely, we can talk about it at JCK. And Erica, my number, if you wouldn't mind posting it for me here, 401-919. I'm 5613, so just swap those last two numbers. that would be cool. So I'm just Erica's 31 and I'm 13. All right. So you might, if you're dyslexic, you'll get me. It's a win-win. All right, guys. Anything else? I appreciate that, Meyer. You have my number. Let's talk. And again, I can't quite give you everything I have because it's not locked down yet, but I anticipate having much more information specific to that again in the next 30 to 60 days. Okay. Any other questions?
And I'm not sure if you're just trying to get some info on help with memo. That might be the other.
Correct. And we can
Yeah,
certainly
makes sense.
have that conversation. As far as a new product or service, I'm not quite there yet. Correct.
Yeah.
Good point, Erica. Good point. Anything else? Thank you guys for your attendance. Look forward to seeing you all at JCK. Erica, where are we at JCK so they can come and see us if they need us?
We're lower level L213. So if you're walking into the JCK show each morning on the first floor, you're going to find us right to the right of the doors before you walk in.
Love it. Come and see us. We'll come and see you. But again, we'd love to have some appointments in advance, tell you about some of the new stuff we got coming. We are excited. I would expect a number of new initiatives from JBT. Again, not just that substantial growth in the number of retailers with a pay score, which is coming within weeks, but some other great things to, again, continue to make sure that we remain relevant, necessary, and all those great things. Being old doesn't keep you relevant. Being relevant keeps you relevant, right? By having a great product and service, and we intend to continue to do that. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.